Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. And this week, I'm actually joined by one of our old friends. He made his first appearance back in September, but since then, his life's been a little bit of a roller coaster. He's put out some of his best music, I think, since then, and then had some other stuff go on with his life. And I'm talking about Grayson Rogers. Grayson, man, thanks for jumping on here, buddy.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it has been way too long. I feel like it's been 15 years since September.
Dude, that's an understatement. No joke.
Yeah.
It's not even been a year yet, and
No.
It feels like it's been 10 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. But before we get too far into it, let's give everybody kind of a refresher, or for those that missed the first episode, the last time you were on the podcast, give everybody kind of the Cliff Notes version of who you are, where you're from, how you got into music, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I'm Grayson Rogers. I'm a country music singer, aspiring here in Nashville, Tennessee. Moved to Nashville about 4 years ago with my wife now. I've been doing music since I was 18, so around 9 years. And just been grinding away at that dream and doing everything I can to make it happen and still chasing it.
Man, and the last, I don't know, we'll say 9 to 10 months for you have been a little crazy. The last time you were on here, it was right after you dropped Stay Ready, which now has like 75,000 streams on Spotify, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's a song about, just kind of being ready for whatever life throws at you. And then just shortly after you dropped that song in October, life threw something pretty intense at you and your wife when she was diagnosed with cancer. And I'm sure it's almost impossible to put into words kind of like how that felt for you guys, but you were pretty open through the entire journey. Everything that you did with Kayla and all of it, I mean, you guys were very open and transparent about what was going on. How important was that for you guys to have that support from everybody else and then share what you guys had going on with everybody?
Well, the support was unreal as far as my fan base and in-person friends from our church to music community here in Nashville. And like I said, fan base online. The support was amazing. And so we definitely count it as a huge blessing that we had the support that we did, because we know that there are some people that go through that without any support. And man, we don't know how that's even possible, to be honest with you. So yeah, and to be open about it, that was her decision when she got diagnosed. Ultimately she's the one that was diagnosed with it, so it was her decision on what she wanted to do, and she decided that she wanted to be as open as possible and to inspire anybody that was going through it as well. She figured if she's going to go through it, she might as well use it as inspiration for others. And so that's what drove us to be open about it and just share our hearts and everything that was going on throughout the whole process.
Well, and man, it really worked. I mean, I don't know how much direct feedback you guys have gotten from people about it, but you and I are about the same age. My wife's name is also Kayla. So, when you guys broke that news, it was something that, us being of kind of the same age really kind of had us take a step back. But you guys being as open as you were about everything and sharing the updates and stuff on Instagram and social media. I mean, there were some times where we had some pretty rough goes just with our life over the last 6 months, but we'd be scrolling through Instagram and my wife would see an update from you guys and we'd be like, okay, you know what, if they can get through this, we can get through this little bump. So it really was inspirational to a lot of people.
That's awesome. That's good to hear. You never really know, whenever you're behind a social media platform, right? It's kind of hard to know like what inspires and what doesn't, because I mean, the people that it's inspiring are on the other end of another screen. So it's hard to know. So that's good to hear.
No, that's true. I mean, I can see, you get likes and comments, but that only goes so far when knowing, what kind of actual impact you're having on people.
Exactly. Right.
So can you give everybody an update on how she's doing?
Yeah, dude, she's doing great. She just had her last surgery a little over a month ago. and everything. I mean, she's been cancer free since her first surgery, but the process was brutal. But that whole process is done now, and everything's back to normal. Praise God, and her hair's growing back like a plant.
That is good. That was, you guys sharing that part of it was one of those things where I know a lot of people that are affected with cancer, when they start to lose their hair, kind of go down that road. It's something that's deeply personal for them. And then if they do have to shave their head, that it becomes something that they don't really want to think about. But I mean, you guys made an entire event out of that.
Yeah. There's actually some really cool things that we're going to be doing with that footage here in the next few months that I'm really, really excited about, and we're going to share with the world, and I'm stoked about it. I can't say what it is because it's not that time yet, but that footage of the shaving of the head will be coming out in the next few months, and I'm stoked on it. But to talk about that event, yeah, I mean, she didn't want to go through the hair falling out, and understandably so. That is probably pretty traumatizing. And she didn't want that to happen to her. And she also wanted to take ownership of it before it took ownership of her. And so that was her way of doing that. And to be honest with you, I didn't even really understand the weight of it until we actually got in the room, because it's not something that I'd ever been through before. I'd ever walked through with somebody. So we were just going to the studio, and she was like, yeah, this might be pretty emotional. And I got to think about it. I was like, oh, like, yeah, I guess you're right. It is. And I don't know why it didn't hit me until right then, but it did. And it was inspirational. It was emotional. It was, man, it was just an incredible, because our friends, a group of our friends showed up and were there, circled around us as we both shaved our heads. And it was an unreal thing to see friendship like that. It was a awakening to me to just show how important community is, because to do that by yourself would be tough. And so a bunch of our friends showed up, and a studio graciously donated their studio on a Sunday when they were closed for us to do it. And it was incredible.
And that's awesome. And there probably wasn't a whole lot of positives to come out of all of this, but knowing that you guys have that kind of support system, that even when the world gets as bad as it was, there's always somebody there for you, had to make you guys feel pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was great. God is good, man. I mean, to be honest with you, a year prior or 2 years prior, if we would have went through this, we wouldn't have the group that we did and still do at this time. So, it's a good way to look at it. If we went through it, a year prior, we would have pretty much been by ourselves, because it takes a little bit, when you move to someplace new to find a group of friends. So it happened that you never want it to happen, but if it was going to happen, it would be the time that we had friends around us.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's moving somewhere like that's got to be tough enough. And then to go through something like that, I mean, I'm sure that these are friends that you guys are going to have for forever now, especially going through something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
All right, let's change the subject. I want to say to something a little bit more positive, but I want to talk about what's been going on since March, and that's how the coronavirus and the COVID and all of that's kind of affected you as an artist. I mean, you've still been able to put out a couple of songs this year that we'll talk about in a little bit, but outside of that, what has this COVID coronavirus stuff kind of done to the way that you're working?
Well, obviously there's no shows, right? I mean, there are occasionally. We just had a show in Florida get canceled because of COVID. It was actually I think today is when it was supposed to happen. So shows are obviously being canceled, and you don't really know when they're going to come back full force. So you have that. It's made us pick up the content. It's made us pick up the recordings, which is I find us grateful and blessed that we're able to do that during this time, because I know a lot of artists and musicians that can't, because they make their income playing shows, and when you can't play shows, it's kind of hard to record music. And so I definitely am blessed to be able to record the songs that we've been recording. But I mean, it's affected the music industry tremendously. I mean, you know, Broadway going in and out, closing, opening up, closing, opening up. You know, it's a tough time for everybody, and the music industry is no different.
That is definitely true. And you know, when you get locked down like this and everybody's kind of stuck at their house, I feel like coming in the next 6 months or so, with everybody having been locked in their house for 4 months with nothing to do but think about art and write songs and you know, do that. I feel like we're up for, I don't know, kind of this, I don't want to call it a renaissance period, but this period where we're going to see some of kind of the best art come out of everywhere, because people haven't had anything to do but create for the last 3 or 4 months. And I mean, heck, we're even seeing it with you being able to put out a couple of songs. We've got one here, and it's honestly, I mean, one of the most inspirational songs I've heard in a while. And obviously it comes out of a trying time for you. And I'm talking about Ringside. Kind of give everybody the story of how that song came about, what it means to you, and then how you guys got it tracked during coronavirus.
Well, funny story about Ringside is actually the guys that I wrote it with. We wrote it 2 years ago,
Really?
and actually recorded it 2 years ago, and we've been sitting on it for honestly no reason in particular. We just didn't really know what to do with it, and the reason is because I recorded Ringside with a bunch of other music at the time that I decided shortly after wasn't me. And so I released these songs in the batch, right? And I just wasn't fully happy with the batch of songs. They were good songs and they sounded good, but they just weren't fully me. And so I think Ringside was one of the last ones that we didn't release. And I just kind of put Ringside in this, I'm just not going to release it because I recorded it with this batch, right? And so we held on it for 2 years, and we started recording this new music and this new sound. We introduced the new sound with Stay Ready. And we just started introducing this new music, new sound, and Ringside was just kind of pushed aside, and we started to rev up for these releases that are still coming in the near future. And Ringside was sitting there, and this was probably, I don't know, early April. And I wanted to release something to kind of warm up the fans and warm up the audience, because it had been a minute since I released music because of the cancer situation. And Ringside was sitting there, and one of the fans one night on Facebook Live commented, they were like, "I want to hear Ringside." And that got my juices flowing and got my thoughts going. I was like, So I went back and listened to Ringside a few times over and over and over again. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is literally like what we just went through in real life, real time. And I was like, and it does kind of fit what we're doing today. And so I called up the producer and I was like, hey man, like, can we finish this song? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So we finished it up and released it in May. And, you know, that just goes to show me that it proves my belief is nothing happens on accident. Everything happens for a reason, and God has a plan for everything. And like the fact that we just sat on Ringside for 2 years for honestly no reason, and then it, you know, it just happened that it was sitting there at that time is incredible.
Well, and I am a big believer in fate and God's plan. And I mean, when you talk about your last 9 months, I mean, one, Kayla getting diagnosed and you guys having that support system, and then two, you having this song that really fits this situation so well, to just have it and be able to put it out is, I mean, I don't know that anybody's able to argue with that at all.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing, to be honest with you, because I mean, like I said, like I wasn't going to do anything with this song, not because it's a bad song. I grew to love it after I started listening to it again and again. I was like, man, like why haven't we released this? And you know, that's why, is because it was meant to be released when it was.
Definitely, and it picked up some traction too on the streaming side. It was added to a couple of Spotify playlists. And what was it like to get that kind of recognition on that song that you'd been sitting on for 2 years and then released out in like the perfect time?
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't expected, because I don't really know why. It just wasn't expected. But I was super grateful, super humbled, and we've been building our relationship with Spotify for the past few years. And so, to get their support, as well as Pandora, and because it was on Pandora New Country and it was on some Apple playlists. And so we got the full spectrum of support from all streaming platforms on that song. And, I'm just, I'm grateful, and it was unexpected, but the unexpected ones are the best. So
for sure. Well, and it was a song that really, it was very applicable to your situation, but it was also pretty applicable to everything that was going on in the world at the time that you ended up releasing it. I mean, I think it really hit home with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that was definitely another reason why I wanted to release it, not only for us and because of our personal story, but I mean, I definitely knew that it was going to be able to touch people because of what we're all going through right now.
Definitely. Well, here, let's give everybody a chance to listen to it. This one's called Ringside by Grayson Rogers.
Sometimes it's tough to stay up on my feet when this big old world takes a big old swing. When life backs me up against the wall, got me feeling like I'm the underdog. Thank God I got someone rooting for me. You're always in my corner, keeping me fighting so that I can go another round. I take the punches, all the bruises, black and blue, yeah. I can't get knocked down, ain't ever gonna knock me out. You're the reason I get up again, before that count ever gets to 10. Every time, every fight, baby, you're right there, ringside. Sure as hell count me out, but I don't really care about what they say, more than sticks and stones so these bones will break, and I won't ever throw in the towel. Cause you're always in my corner, keeping me fighting so that I can go another round. I take the punches, all the bruises, black and blue, ain't ever gonna knock me out. You're the reason I get up again, before that count ever gets to 10. Every time, every fight, baby, you're right there, ringside. Like I'm a underdog, thank God I got you rooting for me. Cause you're always in my corner, keeping me fighting so that I can go another round. I take the
And that one was Ringside by Grayson Rogers. You can find it and stream it everywhere that you stream your music. And Grayson, obviously, the last few months has been pretty tough for everybody. We've been talking about it. But what are you looking forward to most when this is finally
done? Just normalcy, you know.
That's fair.
I think one thing that I reflected on during this all is not to take for granted friends that you have, right? Because I know there was for a while, and I mean, you know, still not being able to see friends and not being able to just hang out on a Saturday and be like, hey, you know, let's do this. You know, that just wasn't able to happen. And I just grew a great appreciation for friends and community. Not that I didn't before, but it just took it to a new scale. And so I'm looking forward to the ability to say, hey, let's hang out and no one be in fear or afraid, you know?
Yeah, no, that is very true. I mean, that's one thing that I think even now a lot of people are still kind of taking for granted. And so here, let's do this. Let's pivot a little bit because I've got some very, very important questions to ask you because you're a sports guy, especially football.
Heck yeah.
So first off, thoughts on your Steelers this year?
Man, you asked me this last year, and my prediction was almost right. If our quarterback wouldn't have went down, we would have been phenomenal. This year, my predictions, I'm going to say, are the same. I mean, our defense has stepped up to a new level. I think that their game is top 5 defense in the league. And as long as Ben comes back to somewhat of what he was, that's all we need, and I think we'll be in the playoffs.
Well, and I don't know that a lot of people realize this. You talk about the defense, and people know who J.J. Watt is, but his two younger brothers,
TJ.
Yeah, TJ and Derek, both playing for the Steelers this year. Yep. I mean, do you see JJ heading that way when his contract is up after next year in Houston? Just get all 3 of them out there?
Man, they were already kind of pushing for that this year. The fans were anyway. Man, I could see it happening, especially because Bud Dupree is on his franchise tag, and that's JJ's position. So I could definitely see it happening. Him coming on a cheap veteran deal to finish out his career with his brother. I mean, I love Bud Dupree. I think he's a phenomenal player. I just don't know if the Steelers are going to be able to afford to keep him. And if they don't, I definitely could see that happening. Absolutely. I think the stars might be aligning for JJ to join his brothers.
That may be one of the most impressive defenses if you can get all 3 of them on the same field. And not just because they're brothers, but I mean, all 3 of them are fantastic players.
Man, what them boys did last year, I mean, I guess you probably have to follow the Steelers because I feel like the media doesn't give the Steelers credit ever.
They do not.
Yeah, thank you. But what the defense did last year is unreal. They literally went on the field and knowing that they would have to score or keep offenses under 17 points for them to win the game because of our quarterback play. And they did it like 9 or 10 times.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
Well, so, and I mean, as big of a fan of football as you are, you know, you're out there touring. If you end up in an NFL city, do you go out and try and check out the stadium while you're there?
Always.
Okay.
Always. Absolutely.
So what's your favorite stadium that you've seen so far? Outside of Heinz Field. I feel like that's cheating.
My favorite stadium I've seen so far. I don't know, to be honest with you. All of them that I've seen, I've loved. I really enjoyed the Panthers Stadium. I love Charlotte. I love that city in itself. And I love the Carolinas, and the stadium was a very cool stadium. And just the surrounding area of it is really cool. So I enjoyed the Panthers Stadium every time I see that one.
Well, that's solid. Hopefully we can get you back out in front of fans and checking out NFL stadiums at some point soon, maybe by the end of the year. But Yeah, until then, you just dropped another song here. What was it? Right at the end of June.
Yeah, June 26th.
Yeah, and it's that's First Light, and it's a bit different than what we've heard from you before. This one, and I feel like I'm going to butcher her first name.
Daisha.
Actually, I was going to guess that right. I should have just
Heck
gone
yeah.
with it.
Heck yeah.
But it features Daisha McBride, and kind of give everybody the behind the scenes of how that song came together. I mean, was Daisha always a part of the plan, or was it something that got added later?
Yeah. So myself and my friend Adam McDonough, killer writer here in town, we started to write this song, and what inspired this song is just my music journey and his music journey, and the incredible ups and downs of it. And we wrote it, got it done. And I went into the studio and recorded it because I loved it so much, and got it done. And the whole version that we got recorded at first was all me. And I just kept listening to it. I was like, man, I think this song needs a rap. And so I texted Adam. I was like, what do you think? He's like, yeah, dude, let's do it. And so I started texting some friends and asking if they knew any rappers in town. And I got a few references. And I checked out Daisha's stuff, and I was like, man, this girl's legit. So I texted her, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. And so sent her the song, and she wrote a rap, and we went in the studio, and she cut it, and it's my favorite song I've ever released.
It sounds so good, and it almost feels like the rap comes out of nowhere, but also that it fits perfectly with the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I want. I wanted, I feel like people that follow me, obviously I'm a country singer, right? But I am a fan of all music. I love all music. I listen to country. I listen to rock. I even like rap. And so I wanted this to be an example of that, to let people know, like, hey, I like all music. I might be a country singer, but, I listen to everything. And so this was my way of doing that. And it probably shocked some people, but I like that.
Well, here, let's let everybody take a listen to this one. It's the newest single from Grayson Rogers. It's called First Light.
Nobody said it was easy to keep your head above water before this life gets peachy. It could get a little harder. So when you're feeling low and you got nothing left, yeah, before you lose control, yeah, just rest your head tonight. Rest your head tonight and come the first light, rise up and ride again at first light, I let my soul shine so high, yeah, ready for another chance at first light, when your heart is broken or the spark is gone, when you feel like folding, you find the one that you can lean on. And in the morning you can start brand new. Tonight you can let go. Tonight you can let go and come to first light, rise up and ride again at first light, I let my soul shine so high, yeah, ready for another chance at first light, alright.
killer be like Jason, pulling up with Grayson. Never know we might cause a scene. I've been the underdog, I really want it all. Hey, watch your back, cause I might outwork any one of y'all, yeah. Had a couple highs, had a few lows, at least it kept me on my toes. My skin thick like on my boots, but I'm still fresh, know how that goes. I point out the impossible and look it in the eye. Got my whole team with me and we stay ready to ride.
In the first light, rise up and ride again. At first light, I let my soul shine so high. Let it shine, let it shine. Another chance at first light, alright, yeah.
And there you have it, music that's less than a month old. It's First Light by Grayson Rogers. Grayson, before we let you go, what do you have planned for the future? Sounds like you got some more music in the works, maybe?
Man, we got a lot more music in the works. We got a song, haven't even announced yet. We got a song coming out on August 14th.
Nice.
And then it's another song late September. And then probably some kind of piano session stuff to record and release in October, and work our way into Christmas recording. Going to do some Christmas stuff this year. So,
nice.
Yeah, lots of stuff coming to your ear holes for you to listen to from Grayson Rogers.
Well, man, you know how we end every podcast the same way. 4 questions. We call it the final 4.
Let's go.
So let's just jump right into those. First question.
Let's go.
If you could go on tour with anybody alive or dead, who would it be?
Chris Daughtry.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, all day.
Look at that. And you were right. You listen to everything. A little bit of rock there.
Oh, yeah. Let's just say Daughtry is an inspiration of mine in my music.
Okay, how about this one? Where were you and who were you with the first time you heard your music being played by somebody else? On the radio, at a party, at a club, wherever. And what was that feeling like?
I think I was in the car and I had just done an interview and they were replaying it. So I went back, listened to the interview, and then they played a song, and that was the first time I heard it being played back without, social media. That's
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this one? What is your favorite venue that you've ever played?
Ooh. Probably just literally right outside of the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium.
Okay, just like in the parking lot?
No, they have a practice field outside of the stadium, and there was humongous country Superfest going on. Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Eric Church, all them, and I got to play that one, and that was cool. It probably wasn't the best show, but it was probably my favorite venue.
That's cool. That sounds like a really cool place to play. I mean, something a little bit more unique than, even a festival just like at the fairgrounds or something like that.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Okay, here we go. Last one. What is your favorite on-stage memory?
Jeez.
This
Oh,
one's
man.
tough.
This one is tough. Probably my favorite on-stage memory when I was on stage is probably the first time that I heard a crowd sing back one of my original songs. And I have another one, but this wasn't specifically me on stage. It was right after I opened up for Dustin Lynch, and right after it was like I was a young kid and I hadn't been doing this long, so for him, he shouted me out and was like, "Man, great show! I love your music," on stage. And at that time, I mean, it's still a big deal to this day, but at that time, being a 19-year-old kid or whatever, I was like, "Oh man, that's so cool!" And so, I remember how I felt, and it was pretty awesome. So, and then I also gotten shout outs from stage from Joe Nichols and Alan Jackson and stuff. So it was awesome.
See, that's pretty cool when you get somebody that you look up to like that, or are opening for, that isn't just there to play music, but also like recognizes that your talent. I mean, that's got to be pretty cool validation.
Absolutely, dude. I'm not sure that a lot of people know, but whenever you're an opening artist and you're not very known, you don't particularly get noticed like that very often. So when you do, it's feels good.
Well, Grayson, man, thank you so much for jumping on here. I can't wait to see what you guys have coming out for the rest of this year, both music and otherwise. Dude,
I appreciate you having me. Love chatting anytime.
Absolutely, and we'll try not to make it 10 months before the next time we get you on.
Yeah, let's make it sooner.
Awesome. Well, that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music like Grayson Rogers and First Light.